Well, it's time for Bubble Watch.
Okay, we'll bubble watch.
Bubble Watch. Here we go. What are the odds? Have you been looking at the bracketologies? They're starting to slip in a little bit as one of those like last four in, first four out type of people. I think as of right now, for most bracketologies, they're on the last four out.
I've seen them a lot so it's like yeah. So it would be what the first four out and then like your next four. So they're
Yeah.
like in the group
All
of
right.
8 that's missing.
Yes. Yes.
And then some don't even have them in that. But I think that the issue is, and what people maybe are forgetting, even though it's pretty basic logic, is like, okay, you blow out these next 2 teams, you win a couple Sun Belt tournament games. If you lose the final, you're losing another game. Like that's going to hurt your metrics. It's another missed opportunity to get a nice win. Like if you win the Sun Belt Championship and you have this great resume with only 3 losses, you have an automatic bid. So it doesn't, like, the bubble stuff doesn't matter. So I think that's the problem. Among the problems is like you're on the outside looking in, and theoretically, when you're talking about the at large, like you're still going to lose another game without really picking up any good wins, because you're not going to see App State until the championship, because I think
Most
it's
likely.
right. It's pretty. Is it firm with that, or is Troy? I guess Troy still technically could. No, I don't know that they could. Well, I guess if
You
App State loses their
you
last
you
2 and
talk in
JMU
circles
wins,
here for a second. I'm pulling up the bracket so we know it for sure.
it's theoretically JMU could get the 1 and App State could slip to the 2.
Wait,
So
just
then J
look at your screen now for our podcast listeners on Twitter and everything. Here it is.
yeah.
Oh,
I just don't think so they would need App to lose both of their final games, and JMU would have to win both of its final games to get the 1, because they lose the tiebreaker. So
yes.
realistically, App's the 1. JMU and Troy could theoretically flip-flop 2-3, but that doesn't really matter because
You're in the bottom bracket, yeah.
you would still play them in the semi.
So as it stands now, let's kind of, this is great podcasting. We should have been prepared for this whole discussion. I completely forgot to even look at the standings. Here's the standings for Sunbelt as it stands right now. App would be the 1, JMU would be the 2, Troy would be the 3. So that's essentially all locked up. If JMU wins these final 2 games, they will be the 2 seed. Troy will be the 3 seed. But like you said, that doesn't matter much. The 4 seeds, Arkansas State, they're at the top of the bracket. 5 is Louisiana. 6 is Southern Miss. Georgia State is 7. Marshall is 8. South Alabama is 9. And ULM is 10. So if you are JMU with the 2 seed, you would be playing the winner of ULM.
I think it's like Georgia State right now.
And Georgia State.
So that's the issue. So you would win, let's say it goes this way and it's like all the top seeds keep winning. You beat Georgia State and Coastal Carolina in the regular season to end those 2. Then you probably beat Georgia State again, or maybe it's someone else, right? Maybe it's Marshall. And then you would beat Troy. None of those teams are actually good. Like none of those wins move the needle at all.
At all.
So you can move it in terms of like your margin of victory. You can improve your metrics in that regard, but you're not moving the needle with any of those wins. And then you look at the quality wins for JMU, and the one that sort of stands out the most is Michigan State. Michigan State's got nice metrics. They're 17-11 though, 9-8 in the Big Ten. They're like a 9 seed.
Yeah,
they're not,
which is a bummer,
right?
Yeah, and up top though, I do want to bring this up. App may trip up. JMU could easily trip up too because there's Troy, the 3 seed in this tournament. But App, they'll face the winner of Marshall, South Alabama. Not really world beaters, neither one of them. So you would assume they win that. Then they're playing either Arkansas State, Louisiana. I mean, let's be honest, it's probably one of those because they're not playing Georgia Southern or Texas State.
That I think is actually way more of an intriguing storyline than Bubble Watch, which sadly enough, like it's fun to think about the at-large potential, but I just don't see it happening. The possibility of App State getting tripped up by Arkansas State and Louisiana, who I think are actually probably playing better basketball than Troy right now, especially Arkansas State.
Arkansas State is doing some big stuff there.
Yeah. So if you have that, maybe you're playing for an automatic bid against Arkansas State instead of App State, which I think the matchup's more favorable there. That seems like a decent setup if that happens. So I think that's almost more intriguing than the at-large possibility. But
do you think it's a foregone conclusion that JMU has lost the Sun Belt tournament if they play App State in the final?
no, I think they could definitely win that game. I just think it's all in on Pensacola. I think the bubble watch mentally for fans, we should just turn off because there's really nothing they can do to have I don't think they just have enough quality wins. Like their strength of schedule is outside the top 300.
I'm going to keep throwing stuff at you here for a second. Ready?
Yeah.
What if you win your next, what would it be? Your next 4 games
Okay.
until the Sun Belt tournament final? You win them all by 25 or more.
Then I think it gets like somewhat intriguing. I just don't think they're going to win them all by 25 or more.
Okay.
Right.
But like,
Yeah.
so it's not necessarily the door is closed on it. They just need exceptionally dominating performances from here on out, then lose in the Sun Belt tournament final. Does it matter in your mind, or do you think so? Because I know you take in a lot of bracketologies. Does it matter who they lose to in the Sun Belt tournament final?
Yeah, I think App is like the only one you could lose to.
Okay.
Because they would be on a neutral floor. I think that'd be quad 2. Where if you're looking at anyone else, it's like quad 3
3 or
probably
even
on a
4.
neutral, maybe even quad 4, depending on whatever happens.
How important is it then for Southern Miss's game? Because right now that game is teetering between quad 3 and quad 4. How important is it for that to stay a quad 3 game?
You don't want that to go down to quad 4. That's big. I mean, the more I look at their schedule, like I had kind of convinced myself, I was like, oh, they could find a way to get in as an at-large because they would have 30 wins in this scenario. What, they'd be 30-4. I mean, that's good, obviously.
Is it?
I just don't think it's enough because, like, the Michigan State win, right? Best win by far. The second best team that they've played this year is App State. So in this scenario, the second best team they played this year, they got swept by 3 times.
Yeah.
And I think so. Maybe Akron wins the MAC championship, and you have 2 wins over like NCAA tournament teams in Michigan State and Akron. But let's say App State gets in, Akron doesn't win the MAC. You're 1-3 against NCAA tournament teams, and you would be, what is that, 29-1 against non-NCAA tournament teams. I kind of feel like an NIT team to me. I know that's so negative, but it's a bad schedule.
I think we all went into that January 27th game against App State with the thought process of if JMU wins, their at-large hopes are still alive. If JMU loses, the bubble watch, the at-large watch, it's all over. And then they lost the game. We accepted it. And then they went out and put 105 up on Coastal. They dominated their way through the rest of the schedule. And then we let ourselves believe it again because all of a sudden they're in the top 60 of the net. They're in the top 60 of KenPom. All these predictive metrics are really favoring JMU. But I think now we're kind of facing the music is the bracketologies are leaving us off.
Yeah.
We have to win Pensacola.
I think so too. I think that's the reality. I don't totally agree with it. Like, I get why it would happen because of the strength of schedule, but like I've seen Virginia in the last 4 in, or like a little bit more firmly in. And yeah, I see Justin here saying that Southern Illinois win could become Q2. That is true.
They are 100. They're
don't think that moves
106th
the
in
needle.
KenPom.
That would give you 2 quad 2s and only 1 quad 1. I saw a stat the other day that like I think 4 teams have gotten in before the at large with like less than 2 quad 1 wins. So you'd only have the 1, and it would be Michigan State on opening night. It's just kind of a hard stretch. But maybe if you have Southern Illinois, a lot of things break your way. Possible. I just think the third app loss would be kind of crippling.
I agree. It's going to be tough. I'm very intrigued to see how it plays out. I will say, third time's the charm.
I'm interested in your thoughts on this.
Okay.
But like, I've watched Virginia play a few times. I watch JMU all the time.
You do?
Like, based on KenPom, they'd be favored on a neutral floor. Like, I think JMU, eye test wise, is absolutely deserving of a spot. Like, they're good.
I 100% agree. I think this is when you get into a lot of weird ticky-tack net. Like, we've been hearing it from ACC fans like the last 2 weeks about how the Big 12 has gamed the system. Like, yes, that's kind of true, but it also, I mean, that's why JMU has such a bad record, because they've been a net dumpster fire up until last year. So a lot of these teams didn't want to schedule kind of an upper echelon bad net team that would then hurt your rating, blah, 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 blah. JMU eye test is a very good team. End of story. They'd beat UVA on a neutral site. They'd probably beat a lot of other like fringe bubble teams, but they just haven't been able to prove that because their non-conference schedule was so bad. And it's, I don't think it's no one at JMU's fault. I don't think it was a JMU scheduling issue. I don't think anyone wanted to play a team that finished last year like on the upper edge of a Q3 loss.
It's just such a
You know,
tough spot,
yeah.
such a tough spot. And they got screwed a little bit with like the Sunbelt MAC Challenge. You got paired with a Kent State team that you thought was going to be really solid and just turns out to kind of stink. Like that would have been one if they were fringe top 100 that you're looking at with Southern Illinois, where maybe that's, especially because that was a true road game. Southern Illinois was neutral.
Yeah.
That could be quad 2. Instead, it's just not.
Yeah. That's a quad 4 right now, right?
I think 3, maybe. Maybe it's 3 or
Okay.
4. Yeah. They've got a lot of 4s.
They have a lot. I think they're 18-0 in quad 4.
Yeah. It might be, they're getting close to like 20 quad. It's a lot of quad 4 wins.
Sunbelt stinks. I think that's the other thing about this. Like
Really bad.
The reason why all of these teams that are like hovering around 500 on the season, that are these like single digit at large teams, like a Michigan State that's hovering around 500, can get in as like a 9 seed, an 8 seed, something like that, because they're playing quad 1 games night in and night out in their conference. Like it is a true bummer that the Sun Belt stinks so much that their whole schedule has been Q4 in conference play, except for like 3 games, 2 of them against App.
It's so tough. Yeah, it's they're really good at basketball. And the thing, I've been a little bit of a downer here, but I think if they get in, I think they're going to win at least a game.
I do too. I think if they get in, they are I actually think if they get in, they're the trendy Cinderella pick.
Probably, right? It'd be, if they win out, they'll have, what would it be, 31-3?
Yeah.
So with a win over Michigan State, like that's a very easy 10, 11, 12 seed to
And then
advance.
you have a power 5 forward and TJ Bickerstaff. You have an experienced backcourt with Michael Green, Terrence Edwards, Julian Wood. You have the makings of when, they get up on TV on ESPN on Selection Sunday and they're like, okay, we're filling out our brackets live on air. JMU kind of has that name recognition from early in the season that they're like, this is like Colgate was like 3 years ago when the net loved Colgate and they were like, this is the team that's going Sweet 16.
Yeah, gosh, they're playing so well. Bickerstaff, I think he had 17 and 10 against Georgia Southern, was perfect from 2-point range. I guess he took a 3 that he missed according to the box score. Don't remember that. I think I blacked that out. But like Edwards was awesome. He had 6 assists to go with only 2 turnovers and also scored 20 points. Wooden just kind of caught fire coming out of halftime, which he does for like 5-minute stretches.
Wooden over the weekend, he went 3 for 4 against Southern. He went 4 for 5 against Marshall.
He just
That's
knocks
insane.
down threes. He's a stud. Like Friedell's a really good player. They're getting kind of like just enough out of Brown and Michael Green.
Brown had that like a dagger 3 in the second half.
Yeah,
or I guess the go-ahead 3.
They're making plays. Horton had a great game. Like they're a great second half, at least. I guess they all kind of had more of a great second half than a great game, but it felt like it was just a game because of how well they played in that half. If they get in, they're dangerous, especially because they won't really have any pressure, even if they're considered like a darling Cinderella. Like if you make the tournament, given JMU's basketball history, like pretty cool.
Yeah. Daniel asked, what seed do you think the Dukes will get if they make the dance?
I keep giving broad like 10 to 12 range.
So high double digit, or I guess low double digit. It would be.
Yeah, I couldn't see anything worse than a 12, assuming they win out, right? If you like lose the last 2 regular season games and then win the Sun Belt tournament, it would be a little bit different. But
win out 12 seed.
12 or 11, maybe they sneak into a 10. I saw some bracketology had Grand Canyon and Indiana State as automatic qualifiers, and they have very similar like profiles to JMU. Both get 11s. There are a lot of like winnable games against 5 or 6 seeds. So that would be, if they get in, I think it's going to be an electric March. In worst case scenario, though, I think they'd make for a fun NIT run, but They're good at basketball.
Let's all cross our fingers for a 12 seed in the Charlotte region.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be electric.